All right. Good morning, friends. I hope you enjoyed your Christmas. Yeah, and Happy New Year as well. All right. Today, I'll take us through consumer behavior. Please endeavor to watch the videos. I can check, and what I'm seeing is most of us are not watching these videos. I'm probably waiting for the test quiz to watch the videos. Please endeavor to watch these videos and watch them as many times as possible. Yeah, I will attach even the notes. Actually, I've already attached the slides, the PowerPoints. Yeah, for your further revision. Okay, today we are going to look at consumer behavior. Earlier on, we looked at market analysis, elasticity, and everything. But here, I want to concentrate on how consumers behave. We are all consumers. We consume several products. So this generally takes us into how consumers behave. And when you talk about a consumer, you're talking about the final user, or that person who uses the goods and services to satisfy his or her wants. Yeah, we assume the consumer to be rational. In this, we mean that the main aim or the main objective of a consumer is to maximize utility. You're given the income and the prices. So we'll talk more about what utility is. Okay, so when we study about the consumer behavior, our major interest is to know or find out how a consumer decides to optimize, or how the consumer decides the optimum quantity of a good that he or she chooses to consume. Yeah, in this we're looking at how the consumer attain equilibrium. Look at that. Okay, and then we look at how the consumer allocates his or her expenditure between various commodities. Recall we said the consumer has limited resources altogether, but with several alternatives. So we'll look at how the consumer allocates the limited resources to satisfy or alongside across the numerous wants. Okay, so under this we look at two broader approaches to consumer behavior, and that's the cardinal utility and then the ordinal utility. We'll look at this in more details, but before that, let's look at the concept of utility. We talked about utility. We were saying that a rational consumer is one who would wish to maximize his or her utility. And then the question is, what is utility? So when you talk about utility, you're talking about that satisfaction you derive from the consumption of a good, yeah, or a service. When you consume a good or a service, the satisfaction you derive from that is what we call utility. So it's like it's a psychological feeling of satisfaction, pleasure, happiness, or well-being a consumer derives from a consumption, possession, or use of a good. Okay, yeah, it's the sense utility in the sense of satisfaction is subjective or relative. It varies from one person to the other, and we are saying it's relative because a good need not to be useful for all. So a good is not useful to each and every person. For instance, cigarettes. If you don't take cigarettes, you don't find cigarettes to be useful. So utility is subjective. Altogether, what gives you satisfaction may not give you satisfaction. And actually, the amount of satisfaction you derive from a good may differ from that amount you derive from the same good. Alright, so that's utility, the satisfaction you derive when you consume a good or a service. The pleasure you get, the happiness, the well-being you get from consuming a good or a service is what we call utility. And you always consume to get satisfied. Yeah, meaning utility is one of the major reasons, or is the major reason that's why we consume. Altogether. Yeah, I'm consuming this thing. I'm expecting to get satisfaction from it. Yeah, that's the utility we're talking about. Okay, so some of the times we talk about total utility. the sum of utilities derived by the consumer from the various units of goods and services they consume. Okay, we've said utility is the satisfaction you derive. Okay, but at times you consume more than one good. For instance, I'm having tea. Alright, I may be taking this tea with, let's say I'm taking this tea with something here. I'm going to show you. Yeah, I'm going to show you. Yeah, I may be taking this tea with bread. Okay, together. So I'm taking tea and bread. So the total utility will be the sum of the utilities I derive from the bread and then I derive from the tea. Okay, so if I put together the satisfaction I'm going to get from this bread and the satisfaction I get from this tea, I get what we call total utility altogether, and that's total utility in case I'm taking different commodities, tea and bread. Okay, but in some cases I'm taking only one commodity, and in such cases total utility will be the summation of the different units of that commodities. For instance, the summation, if I take 4 cups, total utility will be the first cup, the utility from the first cup, plus utility from the second cup, then plus utility from the third cup, fourth cup, etc. Altogether, that is also total utility. Altogether, it could be total utility when you're looking at one commodity, but you're taking several units of that commodity, or you're taking 2 or more different commodities. So that's the total utility we're talking about. Okay. All right. So that we said, suppose the consumer consumes 4 units of a good X, 4 cups in that case, and then you derive utility 1 from the first cup, utility 2 from the second cup, third cup, etc. So total utility will be the summation of that. If a consumer consumes a number of commodities, in this case I'm consuming 2 commodities, tea and bread, altogether, so the total utility will be the sum of the total utilities derived from each of the commodity, utility from bread plus the utility from tea. That's total utility. And then the other term we need to talk about is marginal utility. The utility derived from the additional unit consumed. Alright, that's the marginal utility. The utility derived from the additional unit you consume. If I consume my first cup and I consume the second cup and the third cup, marginal utility will be the additional satisfaction I derive from consuming an additional unit. Altogether, the additional satisfaction I derive from consuming an additional cup of tea is marginal utility. Altogether, meaning I'm just piling satisfaction. The satisfaction I get from the first cup, if I take another cup, we will be adding on the satisfaction I derive from the first cup. So marginal utility will be the total. What will be that utility I derive from the additional units I consume, and then we can get it by computing. When we compute, we get it by changing total utility over changing output. That gives us a marginal utility. And then there's a law we need to talk about, the law of diminishing marginal utility. And this law states that as the quantity consumed of the commodity increases, the utility derived from each successive unit decreases. Consumption of all other commodities remaining the same. Meaning, as you consume more and more, the satisfaction derived from the extra unit you're consuming will keep on decreasing. Meaning, the satisfaction I derive from the first cup differs from the one I get from the second cup and the third cup. Meaning, as I consume more cups of tea, the satisfaction I'm getting from the additional cups keeps on reducing. And that's normal. So meaning I will get more satisfied or more satisfaction from the first cups, but as I continue to consume, one, I'm losing interest. You reach a point that you feel you're getting satisfied. So as you're getting satisfied, it means that what you're getting, the satisfaction you're getting from those additional units is reducing. So that's the law of diminishing marginal utility. Actually, that's why you see some people consume to a point where they start vomiting. You take, and then what you get starts decreasing actually. Now we are going to illustrate it with a graph. Okay, so this is the total utility. The utility, the quantity. Here you're consuming, as you're consuming more units, the utility increases, and then it reaches a point that's the maximum, and then it starts diminishing altogether. it starts diminishing. Yeah, meaning as you consume more, now it will reach a point whereby your utility, the satisfaction, will now start reducing. You can even reach a point whereby you are getting satisfaction. That's a point where some people start vomiting. And that's true. When you're consuming, when you're starting to consume, you're eager. You're too anxious, you're too maybe hungry. Yeah. So when you take the first cup of porridge, you feel okay, and then you take the second one, you start feeling, you take the third one, you may even take a quarter of the third one, because you're ready, satisfied. Alright. And if you force yourself, I remember they used to force us to eat. You take a plate, you're given food, you ask for a lot of food, they give you a mountain. At the start, you're really, you're moving, you're hungry, you're taking. You reach a point of satiety, you're now satisfied. And then you start eating. You take one spoon every after 5 minutes. Alright? And then you start playing around with food. For the tough parents, you have to eat and you finish the plate. Meaning, some people finish the food when they're crying. Together. Have you ever reached that point you eat and you start crying? Meaning the law of diminishing magnitude is applying on you. You eat. You're crying, but they can't let you leave the food, so you ask for it. They tell you finish the food. Meaning you get satisfied and you reach a point of satisfaction. And you feel like crying. You eat while crying. You're just forcing. You no longer get any satisfaction from the food. Alright. Yeah, and then there's that question, why does magnitude decrease? I'll talk about this. The treated life from a unit of a good depends on the intensity of the desire for it. When a person consumes successively into the good, the intensity of his needs goes on decreasing. Talk about that. And when you consume more, you feel like you no longer want. Yeah, or your desire keeps on reducing. Yeah, and that leads to the magnitude to decrease because the desire is also reducing. Okay, then we are going to look at these specific approaches to utility. We have two approaches to utility, the cardinal and ordinal. These approaches helps us to understand utility. Okay, the cardinal utility states that we can measure satisfaction. That's the cardinal utility approach. According to this approach, we can measure satisfaction. Yeah, and here we're saying the basic concept in this theory is utility, which refers to talk about that. In this approach, it's assumed that a consumer can know exactly the amount, quantity of satisfaction that she derives from the consumption of a certain commodity. Here we assume you can quantify the satisfaction you get from a commodity. I can be able to know the amount of satisfaction I derive from this cup of coffee. That's under cardinal utility. And we say you can quantify based on the amount of money involved. Meaning, if I get this cup of coffee at 5,000, it would mean that the worth of satisfaction is equivalent to 5,000 units. It would mean that if I bought it at 5,000, then it's worth 5,000 utils. Recall utility measures satisfaction. So it means it's worth 5,000 utils. That's according to the cardinal utility. Yeah, you measure or you can quantify the satisfaction. If you buy this phone, Techno. It's a Techno Pop Power. Yeah, I bought it at around 300 something. Yeah, I bought it at around 300,000. Yeah, so it would mean that even its worth in terms of satisfying is that amount, 300,000 utils altogether. So it would mean that you spend more on a good which will give you more satisfaction. I know some of you have phones worth 2 million. So it means that phone is the satisfaction from that phone is 200 or is 2 million utils altogether. So you can base on that to make your decisions. If a good is expensive, it means it will give you more satisfaction, which could be true. Maybe a phone worth 2 million offers more services or gives you more than what my Techno can give me altogether. And those are the phones you take a pic and it changes you. Yeah, you take a pic and you start looking like Marshall. of money you, when actually it could be looking like let me leave it together. Maybe there's something addition that expensive phone will give you, but that's the cardinal approach. We assume you can measure satisfaction. You can quantify the satisfaction you get from a good, and we quantify it in terms of utils, for which one util is equivalent to 1 unit of money you're buying a commodity. Alright, let's move on. Okay, that you can measure the satisfaction is in units called util. Okay, you can read that. Alright, so there are some assumptions underlying this approach altogether. There are some assumptions which have to be in place for the approach to make sense. The first assumption is rationality. Here it assumes that a consumer is rational, being in the sense that he satisfies his wants in the order of their preference. So you're looking at rationality in terms of that. You satisfy your wants in terms of your preference. Altogether, what you first clear what you prefer, and then you move to the second level, and so on and so forth. Limited money income to spend. The consumer has limited money income to spend on goods and services that he or she chooses to consume. So the money we have is limited, meaning we can't have each and everything. That's why you may need to first prioritize, and you take those goods you prefer most as you go on. You can't take everything. You have limited money. Altogether. Even for what you want, you may not take everything. If I prefer coffee, I may not take the entire saucepan. They'll give me just a cup, because I don't have enough money probably to take each and everything. Rather, they can just measure for me something small. The other assumption is maximization of satisfaction. Every rational consumer intends to maximize his satisfaction from his or her given money. I may not talk a lot about that. I don't know if there's anyone who wouldn't wish to maximize satisfaction. That's why you go and you complain while buying. We complain while buying, and even we complain after buying. Whenever we feel we are not satisfied with what we bought. Utility is cardinally measured. That utility of 1 unit of a commodity equals the money which a consumer is prepared to pay for it. 1 utility equals 1 unit of money. That a consumer is capable of measuring numerically and exactly the amount of satisfaction he gets from the consumption of a good. So I talk about this. Utility is measured cardinally. We can attach value. And in this we equate 1 util to 1 unit of money. That's what I was talking about. A phone, 300,000, that's 300 utils. Altogether, that's what you can measure. And if there is another phone which is worth 2 million, it means it has 2 million utils, and that we assume it gives more satisfaction than the one which is at 300 altogether. So it could mean that if you go to a shop, actually those people always tell us, if you find genuine sellers, they would sell you the same products. They tell you this laptop is at 2 million, this one is at 1 million altogether. So it would mean, based on this approach, that the one which is at 2 million gives more satisfaction than the one which is at 1 million. So you can look at it in that way. So as you're buying, you shouldn't rush out to just say this is cheap, let me get this. If you put this into consideration, it would mean that the one which is expensive offers more satisfaction. So you may need to rethink, not to just rush into taking cheap things. Alright. Diminishing magnitude is another assumption. We talk about this. Here, following the law of diminishing magnitude, it's assumed that the utility gained from the successful units of a good consumed decreases as the consumer consumes a larger quantity. I talked about this. The element of diminishing magnitude. As you consume more and more, the extra satisfaction you derive from consuming an additional unit keeps on reducing. I said it because as you consume more and more, the desire also keeps reducing. Then the other assumption is that total utility of a basket depends on the quantities of individual commodities consumed by him. Meaning your total utility will be dependent of the quantities of the individual commodities you consume. Maybe you talk about the quantity of tea maybe you've taken with coffee, I mean you've taken with bread, you put sugar, etc. Yeah, so you might total satisfaction from a basket will be comprised of all those elements. Okay, and then the consumer's utility function is independent of the utility functions of other consumers. Yeah, here we are independent. Yeah, meaning if I choose to buy or not, it shouldn't affect my friend. Okay. Yeah, so we consume based on what we prefer. Okay, my desires are independent from your desires. Okay, whatever I buy won't be or shouldn't be influenced by what you want. It has to be based on what I want, based on my preference. Okay, yeah, that's where I talk about the consumer's utility function being independent of the utility function of another consumer. Okay, so it doesn't support the idea of people buying as a result of bandwagon. Okay, you buy because someone has bought, and it happens a lot. Some people, they just copy their friends. Yeah? You never think of what to buy, rather you wait and see what others are buying. So we can drive a demand curve using the Cardinal Utility approach. Okay, so I'm going to explain that graph. I'll come back to it. If magnitude is measured in monetary units, the demand curve is identical to the positive segment of the magnitude curve. Yeah, this is the magnitude here. Okay, let me see. Let me try to get a pointer. Let me try to get a pointer for us. Pointer, where are you? Alright. Okay. So our magnitude, you think it's negatively sloped, even our demand curve will be negatively sloped. So at Q1, magnitude is MU3. Yeah, at quantity 1, magnitude is MU3. Yeah, I think there were some shifts. Yeah, it has to be MU3. Yeah, and it's equal to price P1, equivalent to that price 1. We may need to move this a bit down. Okay, and then and at that point the consumer demands Q1. Alright, so we are relating this from we are going to derive our demand curve, okay, from basing on magnitude and totality in this case. Alright, so we are seeing that at quantity 1, yeah, you should look on your left. Yeah, we are having magnitude utility 3. Okay, and at that point the consumer is willing to pay a higher price, P1. Alright. Okay, at Q2 magnitude is MU2, which is equal to P2. By definition, therefore the consumer demands Q3, give a rise to point 2 on the demand. Yeah. Alright, let me just summarize this. Alright, so we're saying as what we consume increases, our magnitude utility is falling and the price keeps on reducing. Alright, when you just started consuming, your magnitude is high, and that's willing to offer a higher price. But as your consumption increases, the magnitude will reduce, and then the prices will keep on reducing, and this gives us these points you're seeing on the right together. So if we join these points together, we are in position to come up with a demand curve. Okay, then let's look at our second approach, the ordinal approach. The ordinal approach. Let's look at our next approach, which is the ordinal approach. Yeah, so under the ordinal approach, we drop the idea that we can measure satisfaction. Okay, so according to this approach, we assume instead of measuring, yeah, a consumer is faced with a band of commodities from which he has to make choice. All right. So here we with Cardinal, we said you measure satisfaction, and you base on those measurements to make a choice. All together by equating each utility or each unit of satisfaction to a one unit of money used to buy a commodity. That was the Cardinal approach, and that would be a basis for our decision and so on and so forth. Yeah, but this is refuted under the ordinal approach. Here we say you can't measure satisfaction, but rather you can rank bundles and you choose which one is the best. Okay, so the ordinal approach involves more of ranking. Yeah, you're first with a bundle of commodities and then you rank all bundles of commodities and you rank which one you would prefer. You're going to talk about this ranking and see how do you choose bundles from one bundle to the other, and we'll explain that more using the indifference curve. Alright, so under this approach we'll talk more about the indifference curve, which bring out that element of ranking, or which properly bring out the element of ranking. So the ordinal utility has several assumptions, and this includes under this we assume that the consumer is rational, just like the Cardinal approach. Yeah, even here we assume that the consumer is rational. Yeah, in the sense that he aims at satisfying or maximizing his utility given the income and the market prices. Then the other assumption is utility is ordinal. Yeah, it's assume that the consumer can rank his preferences. You order various baskets of goods according to the satisfying power of each basket. Yeah, you don't need to know the exact amount of satisfaction, but rather you rank baskets or bundles and then you choose the best. Yeah, so this ranking one bundle, let me first give an example before actually we go on about this ranking, saying you rank a basket and then you take one you prefer. Okay, the bundle could be like assuming I'm going to take, let me still use my bread and tea. Okay, one bundle, yeah, or one basket could be having 1 cup of tea and 2 pieces of bread. 1 cup of tea and 2 pieces of bread. That is one. And then the other one is having 2 cups of coffee and then 1 piece of bread. So I have to compare which one I prefer. I repeat, one has 1 bread and 2 cups of tea, and the other has 2 bread and 1 cup of tea. So for you, if you prefer more tea, then you take that bundle which has 2 cups of tea and then 1 bread. If you're a fan of bread, you'll take that bundle which has 2 pieces of bread and then 1 cup of tea. That's the ranking we're talking about. Yeah, and those are our bundles we are talking about, and we talk more about them. Alright, we talk more about them. Diminishing magnitude of substitution. Under ordinal approach, under Cardinal approach, we had diminishing magnitude. We're talking about diminishing magnitude. How your satisfaction keeps on, how your satisfaction derived from the extra units reduced as you add. But here we will now have a new term, which is the diminishing magnitude of substitution. Okay, recall we said we're talking about bundles and you're substituting from one bundle to the other. So you are saying preferences are ranked in terms of indifference curves, which are shown to be convex the origin with a negative slope, referred to as the magnitude of substitution. Okay, we'll talk more about this when we introduce the indifference curve. Yeah, and we talk about how you have to forgo something to get something, how you have to substitute between bundles. We'll talk more about that. So we'll talk more about that. Alright. Yeah, and then I think let me end this video at this. Alright, and then we'll record another video. I don't want to have very long videos. Yeah, please, for now, let's have this. I'll be having another recording on ordinal, or to finish up the ordinal utility approach. Thank you very much.